And we're live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Bigfoot Odyssey. This is our second specialist report. Welcome, everyone. And just to let everybody know, this is Daniela's show. She just didn't have anybody actually wanted to be here for this one. So she didn't bother asking anybody else. I said, I want to be your co-host with you, but I said, I want to do the announcement. So we got a few things to talk about before we get to who our guest is. Every Sunday on Bigfoot Odyssey, there will be a show, but it's not always going to be a specialist report. We'll just do those every once in a while. The majority of what Danielle, I think you're going to be doing is going to be Sunday encounters.
Yeah.
Mostly people with encounters, eyewitnesses, kind of like the late show. The late show is kind of like a free-for-all that we do on Fridays, me and Brad. So just let everybody, not every Sunday is going to be, I think next Sunday is going to be an eyewitness. I'm working on a couple right now. Pretty sure we're going to be able to get them on here. But when we have a specialist and those specialists can come on here and talk about Sasquatch or their job as it pertains to Sasquatch in their field and that direction, then that's what we'll do. Like we have tonight, our guest is Niyanta Deshpande. We had him on before. I think we had a little bit of trouble last time. Niyanta speaks 4 languages, and between Hindi and Japanese, those are very fast languages. And I think you just got going a little bit too fast for some of us country folks to understand. So I understood you fine, but I kind of knew the direction you were going anyway. So that helped. But we're here again. We're going to discuss some of the things we discussed before because I kind of wanted to get another shot at it, and of course, Danielle is going to be conducting this interview for the most part. I'm going to be watching the chat. I did make a few more moderators. I didn't ask some of you guys. I just made you a moderator. You don't have to do anything with it if you don't want to. We do appreciate. I just chose a few that we know are regulars and trusted to maintain the integrity of our chat for us. And we appreciate that very much. I think Joe Pass and Tom Paul Cajun and Miss Fran. I was like 5 or 6 that I created because we only had 2 the other night when we had our little debacle. So, all right, I'm done talking. Our guest for this evening.
No, you're fine. Go for it.
Our guest for this evening coming to us all the way from. Are you in Mumbai? Niyanta, are you in Mumbai now?
Yes, I'm in Mumbai.
Coming to us all the way from Mumbai, India. On the other side of the planet. He's a writer. He's an interpreter, written several books, done quite a bit of study on the social and cultural impact of Sasquatch, Yeti, Yeren, Yowie, across the globe. So that's what we're going to discuss a little bit of tonight. And welcome, Indy. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Hi, Kerry. Hi, Daniela. Thank you so much for having me here again. It's a honor and a privilege. I'm a big fan of Bigfoot Odyssey. And honestly, I don't know anything about being a specialist. I feel more like a useful idiot, So this will be the shortest conversation ever. And then we'll find something else to talk about later.
Well,
you can't eat up all the self-deprecating either. That's my gig here.
Yes.
So,
am I speaking too fast? Is there a delay? No. Yes.
No, okay. You're good, man. You're good. I'm gonna kick back and talk to the chat, Daniela.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, they're all caught up now with the delay. We were talking earlier today, and we're talking about not finding Bigfoot, but it's all about mindset, isn't it? Where your mind's at. And
yes.
You wanted to talk a little bit about that, how we think and what maybe can interfere with when we're trying to look for things or seek answers.
Sure.
I'll let you take it away with that.
Yeah. I will give everyone an outline of what I am going to speak about today so that they can follow me as I go through the topic. Before that, taking this opportunity of speaking from the other side of the world, let me tell you that we are all very fascinated with the work of all the field researchers, who are mostly citizen scientists working on their own time and dime for many generations now, and now they have really blown uh, uh, this topic open, especially with the power of social media. So much respect for everyone, including those in Australia and Russia and China too. Also, a big shout out to all the friends in the chat and the viewers from all around the world. Thank you. Uh, what I would like to talk about today is when we speak about the cultural impact. If you look at it, it could be a very innocuous topic that does not have much to it today in the context of where we are today. For example, if you were to talk about the cultural impact of elephants or snakes, maybe it will be of interest to some people, but that does not teach us anything about the elephants themselves. We can talk all about elephant god and the cultural aspect of that. uh, However, and here, uh, which is not the same, of course, and we are not talking about dragons and unicorns because they are not real. However, it's not the same as elephants because here we are talking about a bipedal and intelligent humanoid. So it has a different significance. I would like to first talk about uh, the significance of this cultural impact. Later, I would like to speak about the cultural backdrop in which we find ourselves today and the cultural shifts that have taken place in the recent history, without which we cannot look towards what is going to be the future impact. uh, then I have a few um, thoughts, new information, and the questions that bother me also to share with everyone. And finally, if the time permits, I would like to talk about a kind of a bloody confrontation with the authorities. I mean, just to leave it out there. So kindly stay tuned until the last bombshell. And is it okay? Can I take it from here, Daniela?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So the most reassuring message about the cultural impact of Bigfoot is that the impact is bigger than we have anticipated, and it is going, and especially more so in the what it is going to be in the future. It is going to be even bigger because unlike, say, for example, other species like elephants and so on, I already talked about this being a completely new species yet unknown to the modern science, and yet we know that it exists, and we are trying to spread the awareness, get the numbers in, and therefore the significance is huge. I mean, in the very least, what it is going to do is that it is going to change uh, the the history books, the science textbooks, and maybe the scriptures too. I do not want to go into that cultural aspect of Bigfoot, such as what it means for your scripture or my scripture, and the the topic of culture can be very contentious, because culture means diversity. Diversity also means division, and it uh, there are very few uniting factors. We look at the whole, you know, humanity in totality. Uh, if you look at the two words cult and culture, the connection between them sounds almost ominous. It's like saying that you can't take the cult out of the culture, which means that your culture is very deeply rooted in your belief systems.
We're losing you. We're
depends
losing
on.
you, Andy. We're losing you a little bit there. I think your
Yes,
internet maybe slowing down a little bit. Any way you
internet is
can, if
okay.
you have any
Give me
other
a second.
you have
What?
any other windows open? Do you have any other windows open on your computer? It might help if
Only
you shut
mess.
those down.
Only messenger window. Okay, I have closed the messenger window.
Sorry about that.
No, no, it is okay.
But
Can
I
you hear?
understand what you're saying. I understand what you're getting at. I mean, what we're talking about essentially here is a monster, and that has to have an impact. It's in it lives in our nightmares too. It's not just and the potential for this thing being real. There are a lot of implications in that. I mean, it's been suggested that Sasquatch is an archetype. It's the source code for humanity. That we were created from them. This aboriginal species was already here. And then you look at the DNA study, and it shows this creature only goes back about 15,000 years. So it kind of seems to be the other way around. But this is an incipient species. If you believe the DNA, and a lot of mistakes were made doing that, I agree. But what does appear to be right are the results. And
Yes, yes,
not
yes.
getting into that, but just touching on that piece of it, it has to impact us culturally.
Yes, yes. I am going to talk about that. So part of this relates to the DNA, and besides, it is being in our psyche, especially those who are closer to the habitat of Bigfoot. It definitely creates a huge psychological impact in the minds of people, especially those who have experienced Bigfoot. And like I said, the most fascinating aspect, including the DNA, I believe that the DNA results are pretty accurate, and we will get the same results every time. And the latest breed that we have probably goes back to something like 15,000 years. But like you said, it has been there all throughout. I mean, we don't know how old it is. There is some very and and that is the biggest impact. We have never seen any other Homo species other than Homo sapiens. We have never been able to see the Neanderthals or the Cro-Magnon man and the earlier versions, or you can say the earlier branches of our family tree. And that is why it is so startling that here is a species which is a relict humanoid or a hominid, and it is so big, it is so huge. It is, I mean, the DNA connection is there, but it does not look anything like us other than the facial resemblance or the family resemblance, uh, and and still it is so different. uh, we are right now also in the debate of discussing the possibility or almost a certainty of another bipedal, intelligent, and humanoid creature, and I'm talking about aliens, and that again fascinates us. And there is a probability that some people predict that even humans have an unknown DNA, which could be alien DNA, and yet we are so different. So that is also in our minds through the cultural developments surrounding Bigfoot or surrounding aliens. Those thoughts are in the back of our mind, and those do affect us. Those conflict with our notion of reality. It creates a cognitive dissonance because of that. Because of the conflict, we find it hard to get over, especially that form factor, the form factor in which we encounter either Bigfoot or aliens. Let us keep the aliens aside, but those form factors are equally startling for us, because they look so different from us also. And immediately the first reaction of something that is different from us is of fear, is that we immediately first would like to label them or look at them as a monster, as a proverbial monster. And not necessarily that could be true, but yes, especially, I mean, if they are always hiding from us, if they are always trying to stay shy away from us to the extent of, such a huge creature belly crawling under the grass and, on the floor of the uh, forest. uh, I'm not sure if they look at us also as a monster. I mean, we are scared of them. Uh, I don't know whether they are more scared of us, or or they know that we are at least more armed. We could be scary for the same reason that we don't look like them, and for other reasons in which uh, probably we are more violent than them. So it cuts both ways. We have to give a thought to how they might be perceiving us. Do they really perceive us as, like peaceful and God-fearing species, or somebody who is very very much armed and uh, standing our ground on their land? Now, what I think is that uh, yes, there is merit in looking at, how the various tribes, and we are also a tribe, but the native tribes have been looking at these encounters, either in the form of the various names that they have given to this creature, how they came to terms with the existence of such a scary phenomenon, and over time they embraced it, they made it a part of their subculture, of their pantheon. They attached many different views depending on their spirituality, or their understanding of the myth, because it was a mystery. It has remained a mystery to most of us, including those tribes. But I think we are past that. Now we are going into a future where uh, simply, there are two types of beliefs regarding the cultural side of Sasquatch. One is ancient beliefs, which are everywhere, including in the Native Americans. I'm sure, with Yeti, Yeren, and so on, including the Aboriginals in Australia. They have their beliefs. Those are ancient belief systems. Similarly, we find that there is a new age belief system where it is a rehashing of some of the Native American beliefs, like materializing and dematerializing and being multidimensional, for which we do not have any evidence as of today. We can look at the evidence, and if the evidence points us in that direction, we can always go there. But right now, we are looking at a flesh and blood creature, and uh, since you and therefore, I think we have to come back to this anchor of we are trying to understand another species which is bipedal, and it raises all the right flags or the red flags, that there is only one bipedal species that we are saying that is still not gone extinct. It is intelligent and it is humanoid. So uh, uh, the cultural aspect of it, I mean, the psychological aspect, yes, but we need to keep that in mind. But the cultural aspect, I don't think that it is the either the ancient beliefs or the new age beliefs. I mean, the belief part of the culture is not too significant, because it can go into any direction. I mean, culture means culture wars, uh, even today. So that is the only precaution or the caution that I would like to exercise when we talk about culture, because uh, when I listen to the debate of looking at the biblical explanations of Bigfoot, in the various chat rooms and online groups, it doesn't make any sense to me, because the Western Hemisphere knows Bible. In the Eastern Hemisphere, we don't know what is Bible. So it depends on which belief system. I personally don't believe in anything. I believe in the evidence. I'm also not completely rational. No one is, but uh,
Well, we
so
talked earlier. If we touch on that a little bit. We talked earlier about Bible scriptures, folklore. Is there some sort of misinterpretation going on? Because a lot of it is interpretation, isn't it? We're making what we think of some of these scriptures and passages, because it can be quite versatile, can't it? As we said, if you've got a belief in something, you're going to make it fit to what you want it to fit to a lot of the times. So could people have been misled a little bit with culture connected to Bigfoot?
yes, I think they are. And it is not about judging anyone or judging any culture. We have the same trap here in India, because what happens is that is your known frame of reference. So you tend to depend on your frame of reference of the reality. It could be rational, it could be real, or it could be unreal. It could be fantasy. It could be fact or fantasy. But that is what you are left with. That is what you have been either been taught, or that's something that you have accepted as your frame of reference. So I'm not, therefore I'm not attacking that either. I'm not saying that it is we have been misled. Yes, I think we mislead ourselves by not making a choice of our free will. When we surrender that to a belief system, that is when actually we get misled. So I'm not attacking any particular belief system as such, but this is a common trap that everyone finds in any part of the world. So uh, uh, in India, it is the same story. I mean, we have our own creation myth. We might not know about what Bible says, but we have our own creation myth, which is 4,000 years old. We have our own great flood and our own ark, which is again 4,000 years old. So we'll always go with that, saying that okay, our ark is bigger and older than your ark anyway, but it is still not as old as maybe the Sumerian ark. So the saga of Gilgamesh, and maybe that was the source of all trouble, in the sense that in term what we could not explain at the time, those became myths, and those were perpetuated through different scriptures. So it is natural. What I'm saying is that human beings have uh, this need and uh, almost a physical want to believe in something, to make that leap of faith. Uh, and no matter how rational you try to be, you always keep doing that. You are taken in by some aspect of something where you let your guard down, and anyway you become irrational. So that's how you get misled. And therefore, I'm not trying to attack any particular ideology or any particular thing. This is naturally what happens with all of us, and we learn through that. We When we come into this world and open our eyes, we are ignorant anyways. So we are still ignorant in one way or the other, or irrational. Now, coming back to Kerry's suggestion, uh, the link between the humans, or the Homo sapiens, or the Homo genus, and Bigfoot, I have some new information. It might not be new to everyone, but so I have some thoughts that I have been linking together with this Homo genus, or our family tree. Uh, and uh, just as we are lucky to still have one specimen, one species that could be a very big part of our Homo genus, our family tree. Uh, and another previous, another version which led to Homo sapiens was Homo erectus. And Homo erectus lived for uh, 2 million years, close to 2 million years, Homo erectus was around. And uh, that is when the human brain size actually increased and then became Homo erectus, and that then further developed into Homo sapiens. Now the interesting part about Homo erectus is that it had the vocal mechanism of a gorilla, and therefore they say that perhaps or most probably Homo erectus was the first talking gorilla. uh, for 2 million years, when they were making this development through community, as a community, through cooperation, living as families, as and cooperating, making tools, all that could not have happened without the use of language. And therefore the anthropologists are saying that probably Homo erectus was the first talking gorilla, because Homo erectus did not have the vocal mechanism, the voicing mechanism of Homo sapiens. It had the voicing mechanism of a gorilla. Now that is fascinating when we link that to uh, the vocalizations of Bigfoot. Um, and we always conjecture that whether Bigfoot also has some language, and uh, a clue can be found in the theory that how Homo erectus with that gorilla mechanism could have developed a language, and for that they say that all that they needed theoretically to make communication were only two sounds. If they could make two sounds and add to that two vocalizations, two intonations, that is either high and low. The combination of these two into two alone you can have communication as a language. You don't need grammar for that. Even today, there are tribes that do not use more than 10 sounds. They have complete communication with each other with only 10 sounds in their language, and they have no grammar. So uh, Homo erectus had, they are saying that he had already learned mastering he or mastered the control of fire from the lava islands that there were at the time in Africa, same as we have in Hawaii. They were using fire also. I mean, these are still theories, but all this could not have happened without language. And language with a gorilla mechanism makes him the first talking gorilla. So today Homo erectus is not there, but having these findings and linking those to Bigfoot, I think this will mean a lot in future when we have more research, more information on Bigfoot. Probably these things are become very important. Another aspect that I wanted to bring up later in the conversation was again about culture in a different way, uh, in the sense, uh, in just like language, which language also makes a part of the culture and civilization. The anthropologist Margaret Mead, she had said that the first sign of a civilization is whether as a species, whether you are caring for your sick, wounded, and dying. That is the first sign of the rise of civilization. And she said that maybe civilization has existed even before Homo sapiens, because we know that the Neanderthals, they cared for their sick and wounded. There are, skeletons or fossils or skeletons of healed healed thigh bones, which means that somebody took care uh, for them for a prolonged period of time, which does not happen in any other animal species, because slowing down means certain death. But as far back as Homo naledi, which is one of the branch of the Homo genus, even Homo naledi, there is the evidence that they used to bury their dead people, and it is you know millions of years ago. So what I'm saying is that we have to look at the other branches of Homo genus, and because we tomorrow we will be facing this, the scientists will be placing Bigfoot in some branch of human family tree, and these references can will help us to try to create a picture of how Bigfoot might have survived in this scenario, even millions of years ago or hundreds of thousands of years ago, beyond our known history or the DNA evidence. I think they have a history, and all these cross references will become very useful in understanding if they have a language today or not. Do they communicate? And I think these findings will become important. Similarly, do they have a basic or the rudiments of a civilization by caring for their sick, wounded, and dying? Do they have some medicinal knowledge of their plant life around themselves, which they use for healing their tribe members? And one of the another very important question in comparison to the human beings, the Homo sapiens, is learning or discovering whether they go to war against each other over territory or females or food, you name it. Whether just like the humans, have always been going to war against each other, do they go and do they go and fight wars amongst each other? These are some very interesting, not for everyone maybe, but they are very interesting comparative comparisons that we can draw from ourselves,
But
and
those
not
things,
only
those
Bigfoot, but
things. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yes, sorry, Kerry, please go ahead, please, anytime, please stop me
No,
at any time.
I was just going to say those things are usually territorial. It's either about territory or even cultural differences. Humans war, but as we became a society, a civil society, it's almost like we have to keep moving forward. Human beings, we have to advance. We're agricultural society, then we add industry, now technology, and these creatures seem to just want to be primitive, live simple lives. Does that speak to intelligence, or does that speak to will more than anything? And another question, as it pertains to culture, Sasquatch, especially, a lot of things that are coming out now, a lot of eyewitnesses coming forward, and most of what we have is anecdotal. And as much historical record as we have, a lot is anecdotal, but most historical record is anecdotal. What's going to happen here? Most people that don't go into the woods, they live in the city. This creature's not on their radar at all. What's going to be the true cultural impact of the world today? Let's say the news comes out tomorrow, Sasquatch has been validated. Science has finally given in, and these creatures do exist. They are out there. Is it really going to affect the majority of the planet as it were? Or is it just, do you think just a particular sector of people is it going to affect? It's going to affect culture if that happens, when that happens.
Yes, that's a very profound viewpoint and a question. See, it is not going to affect the day-to-day lives of anyone. That is not the way in which it is going to affect us. Nothing is going to change, to be honest. Of course, our we will be advancing our knowledge and admitting, it will be an admission of reality beyond which the lives are not going to change. At the same time, uh, how how those events can shape our culture, our society. Like you said, it is their choice to be wild men. They might be intelligent, but they have, out of their own choice, they as and as an opportunist, you say that they understand, they have decided to be wild men, to be, I mean, even more primitive than cavemen. So they are primitive. They are very primitive, but in their surroundings they are very smart, and that is where their intelligence shows that they are smarter than us in their environment, in their surroundings. I'm not saying that they are intelligent in the same way that we are intelligent, but they are definitely more intelligent than uh, other animals. And this, still they are a wild species. I mean, there is no doubt about that. They are a wild and opportunist species who know their survival lies in being stealthy, being hidden from the uh, other species, especially human beings. So, no, nothing is going to change in terms of this revelation. Is not going to be earth shattering or earth changing, not in that way, but it will definitely change our perspective of the world we live in, our worldview. Uh, Looking at, having another species to look at and learn from is is going to affect our way of thinking. It is already affecting the way of thinking. I mean, those of us who are passionate about the subject, we find ourselves thinking about these things, like the things that you mentioned, or I was trying to, propose earlier. So that change is happening now. Even for science to make this admission, there is a backdrop to that. I mean, if you go back to a few decades or even a few years ago, there was not even a grudging admission of this reality being out there. Now, what we are seeing is that uh, uh, the control has gone from the hands of the establishment, the political establishment, as well as the mass media, the news media, and therefore, to an extent, with the scientific community also, into the hands of the civilians, and that has happened through socialization and democratization of information. Now, information is in the hands of the civilians thanks to social media. Earlier, uh, even in a democratic country like USA or India, the top intelligence agencies could control the news services and the wire services, and therefore the news media got to hear only what came out of the wire services or the news services, and therefore even the people got to hear that. So we have always had that illusion of democracy when it comes to information. Now, where our own culture and our own society has changed in the last few years is that the news media was the first to realize that now information is power and it is already going into the hands of the people. So they had to make quick changes. Nobody now gets their news from the cable news or the network TV. They get it from YouTube, they get it from social media, and the news media was the first to make this change. They were compelled to make this change. That and when that happened, today we see that they are more considerate of the whistleblowers. Earlier, everybody was ridiculed. Everybody was treated like, a cook and discredited. But uh, from the voice of authority, now they have to be considerate to the voice of the civilians or the voice of the people also, because now the information lies directly in the hands of the people. It's not controlled by any apparatus, national security apparatus or any other apparatus. There's a huge cultural change that has happened slowly and it is very subtle. But now, if you see, even the mainstream media, still they are not showing the same consideration for the common people like you and me, for the civilians. But at least from the whistleblowers from government and authorities, they are not branding them as traitors. They are giving them a lot of airtime. They are showing consideration to the information that they are bringing forward, and it is not discredited and say rejected offhand. So I think it's a huge change, and without this change, none of the admissions that will come later on would have been possible, because the authorities everywhere basically follow the policy of non-disclosure. We know that they have only one line to tell you, and that line is, we can neither confirm nor deny.
Sure.
They always want, plausible deniability, and therefore they don't confirm and they don't deny also. Now the latest uh, report to the Congress, the UAP report to the Congress, they are actually saying the same line again. We can neither
Yes. Well,
confirm nor deny that those are aliens or extraterrestrials or whatever it is.
well, with
Well,
Sasquatch now
huh.
lives in the court of public opinion. But
Yes.
isn't it going to get worse, especially for people in the Bigfoot community? Because once this thing comes out, I mean, there are already very few actual facts, things that we really know about this creature outside of them existing. So there's a lot of belief out there, and belief being a very powerful inception, it's hard to rock people out of their beliefs. So this thing
Right.
comes out through mainstream media, and the world at large is going to get one set of facts. Okay. They're going to be able to live with those, and that's going to be it. But now you're going to have thousands, hundreds of thousands of eyewitnesses that were never going to say anything before actually coming forward worldwide. So now you've got these people coming forward. Now we've got all this extra information aside from, and to quote my good friend Zach Squatch, who said all there are preachers of the Church of Bigfoot out there already with their own set of facts. We're not talking about people that have differing opinions over a set of facts. We're talking about people with different facts. Okay. So don't you see it getting worse actually? Because who do you trust? The media, right now, no one really trusts. Everybody has their own source, I'm sure, that they go to. But who do you fully trust when it comes to information about this creature? I think it's going to get worse, especially for the presenters of information. I think the court of public opinion is still going to stand strong with this. I think that much of culture is going to change. I think people are going to be a lot more apprehensive about going into the woods. Maybe they'll be a lot more aware, and that's the best angle any of us have in this. But I think it's going to be a lot more jumbled up mess once this creature actually comes out. There's going to be a ton of "Hey, I told you so's" coming out here, and this is what they do, this is what they don't do, and when do we get the real stuff?
Yes, I agree with you. The real stuff will take time to come out because of the very nature of the creature itself. The creature does not want you to study them. The creature wants to live in secrecy. Uh, they are not sending you a dinner invitation. So all these factors are going to keep us away from the real stuff for a long time, for at least for the foreseeable future, irrespective of whether it is accepted as a fact or not. Even today, when this uh, 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 the same contradictions, in the same way, various different people contradicting each other, the scenario still exists, and like you said, it will explode when it comes to the fore. It will definitely explode, and government actually wants that. When you have different groups contradicting each other, it is the best way of keeping a secret, and then they can only say, okay, just denying that there is something is the best way of keeping a secret. Denying that there is a secret, there is no secret, it's the best way. And when you have this scenario of people contradicting each other in terms of beliefs and so on, it's a best scenario for them. But one there is one area where I disagree, or I see a different scenario, is that ultimately, even today, when there are great scientists, like notable scientists who do follow the scientific method, like Dr. Jeff Meldrum, whenever he speaks out on the subject, I think that gets a whole lot more weight than any other civilian researchers out there. And the whole idea of the government lockdown is on not letting these topics get into the hand of the scientific community. As long as it goes leaks out into the civilian space, the government is not worried, because the civilians are going to make all these kinds of contradictory, uh, they are not going to apply any kind of scientific method, and it is going to, I mean, create more confusion. What they have always tried to do is that they do not want this information, the secret information, the secrets that they have, either about Bigfoot or other topics, to go into the hands of the scientific community. First civilians and then the scientific community. That is what scares them, because then they lose all control. They lose all control of their profits from either military dollars, or defense spending, or timber industry, the lumber industry. So depending on where the whole thing is, the politics part of it, or the money part of it, even the religious part of it, they don't want this to fall in the hands of uh, like public, in the sense scientific community. Once it goes into the hands of the scientific community, I think the whole thing will be consolidated instead of disintegrating. It will explode, but it will not disintegrate, because you always look to the voice of authority. When, if you have scholars, you listen to your scholars. I mean, you are forced to listen to your scholars. Whether you know, uh, I feel very optimistic that when it becomes an admitted fact, those gurus will disappear. The gurus don't have a standing when they are compared to the scholars.
So it's a
I
good
agree.
point.
It's going to take time, though. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've said it before, that I don't think the answers to Bigfoot are going to be on YouTube. I know we discuss it, and I know people talk about stuff, but why do a lot of people think the answers are here? We're so like hung up on it, that they are, but they're not. This isn't. We're not going to find them here, and I don't think. Yes, it's great. People are out there looking, but I think it's going to be the scientific people that we need to bring any credibility, or that someone's going to look, like you say, authority, because nobody's going to listen to anybody else. It has to be an authority. We don't seem to want to trust anybody else, but like you say, it's who do we trust? But
I see what you're saying, absolutely, and I don't disagree. The only thing is it's been the court of public opinion for the last 50 or 60 years, especially, that the subject's really been paid attention to, and any information at all has been brought out, aside from affidavits you get, from back in the day, or old stories. It's going to be hard to break people out of their tree, is what I'm saying. Even if science does come forward with something, you're going to have some eyewitness that can contradict that, or that will contradict that and say, well, this is what I said, nothing compared to what I saw. Are these things, or if they come out and determine that these creatures do somehow control electromagnetic frequencies and can do these things, almost like magic. How many people are going to look at that as something demonic? There's so many different angles in this to bringing this creature forward. Just PETA alone, how much litigation is going to be involved in PETA wanting to get some expert, and then who do you get to do that? Just to go to an area to see if they're in there before the logging industry can go take a tree out. There's going to be so much. It's just I see it being a complete mess for a while. So I can understand this creature being suppressed for different reasons, that one being the main one. But when it does come out, because it's almost like you can feel it coming, that they're going to be known. It's going to be just public knowledge before too long. there's going to be so much involvement on the periphery that it's going to be terrible. I'm going to quit. I'll tell you that right now. Y'all won't see me anymore. I'll be done.
That will be a loss, Kerry. By the way, yeah, I can. It's a very good point. Yes. See, just because you mentioned these electromagnetic frequencies, I mean those theories are a bit of a stretch, and a little too far, little, for at least for me, a little far out there. However, there is an interesting fact about the large predators like lions and tigers, that they can read our electromagnetic energy signature. So they have uh, more ways of learning, sensing our presence, other than their sense of eyesight or night vision and smell. In addition to that, the lions can sense our electromagnetic energy, and even before we know that they are there in the forest, they know that we are there in the forest. And if the same is true about Bigfoot, maybe that is another weapon with which they can keep that distance between them and you. Because the moment you are there, if they can detect that electromagnetic energy, they can always stay the safe distance away from you. They are not predators per se. They are not trying to hunt you down. They are just trying to see that they are not hunted and they want to. But so I'm not going into any supernatural aspect. I don't buy into that, of the supernatural aspect of electromagnetic frequency and control.
Sure.
But
I agree.
yeah. But this electromagnetic energy, which is our psyche or essence, it's there. I mean, that is how telepathy or the thought transfer happens through the air, through our electromagnetic energy. So maybe they can sense that. That is, at least the lions can do that. I don't know about tigers, but they say that the lions can do that.
We've talked about this, haven't we, Kerry, about EMF? I've been having this treatment, haven't I? Pulsed EMF, where basically I'm lying on a bed full of copper and just pulsed with thousands of gauss of electromagnetic energy. And it's true, we give off energy from our hearts, magnetic, electro, and it creates like a donut around us. I mean, quite a big space. Kind of wonder if Bigfoot has a bigger heart and a bigger donut around him. I don't know, but yeah, we can. That's how we connect. That's how we gel with people or don't gel with people, or can pick up how people feel or senses. So I think there's a lot in that this EMF thing is, and the bad EMFs really are the things like the microwaves, your phones and things like that. So when you're out there, I think in the wilderness, there's got to be a lot of good energy going on, and can be picked up without the other interfering, like the microwave phones and stuff like that can interfere with that good energy. So I think it's interesting,
Well, Sasquatch have big brains, apparently. And, what better way when it comes to survival, anything predicated upon survival, keeping hidden would be paramount for these creatures, especially from us. What better way to stay hidden than to convince someone somehow that they didn't see you, even if it was just a glimpse? You've got all these tools already. Your outline's broken up. Maybe there's something with the hair. Maybe there is a little something there that they can, you're looking at me, but you don't see me. You just walk right by. I mean, what better adaptation for something like that? There are already people that can remote view. Telepathy is a thing. These are not just myths. So what if this is the case? Then there's so many directions this could go. If it's determined that Sasquatch doesn't do any of those things, Where does the woo community go after that? Do they just fade away? I think they're gonna die hard. Myself, I say they, like I don't believe any of it. I think something's going on there, but I think all these different factions of Sasquatch, all the different camps, the ones that either whether they're true or not, or portions of it are true, those parts that are not, they're gonna die hard. They really are.
Yes. Yes. You mentioned about this. Uh, Telepathy and other things, remote viewing and all that. Now, that is another very big cultural shift that has happened in our society. Earlier, we used to, approach the reality from the power of dogma, and then we started working also with the power of reasoning. Now, today we have more tools, and one of the tools is, in addition to the power of reasoning, we also, have the power of intuition. Earlier, for example, all great discoveries have always been made through power of intuition. Einstein's happiest thought, which changed the world of physics, came to him in a trance-like state or a dream-like state, and he always believed in the power of intuition and not only reasoning, not only logic. Now, the great mathematician Ramanujan, who died very early, he got hundreds and hundreds of theorems uh, in his dreams and a trance-like state, and he just wrote down the theorems. He did not even bother to give the proofs for those theorems, and he said that okay, they just came to him. Now, for over 100 years, people have been solving those theorems and giving proofs for those theorems, and they have turned out to be right. It's the same as Einstein's theory that the time and again the experiments have been proving Einstein's intuition as correct. So earlier it used to be only in the realm of either mystics or psychics or the fringe, but the power of intuition, call it the inner eye or the sixth sense or the third eye or whatever it is an added tool which we must use going forward. Even though modern science is just get starting to understand or trying to understand what is human consciousness, even without looking at what powers Bigfoot might have. I think we have a lot of hidden potential ourselves in the way in which we can use our essence or the soul.
Absolutely.
Or the vibrations that the Daniela was talking about. We all give out those vibrations, what that we call vibes, and they come out as a part of the frequencies of our consciousness, which is nothing but like they are saying today recently from UK itself, that our consciousness is the electromagnetic waves generated between our neurons in the brain. So I think this is another cultural shift where going forward we will be looking at not only the power of reasoning, but we'll also have to make use of the power of intuition. And since we are talking about the cultural side of it, and you talked about the consciousness of Bigfoot, at least in India.
Well, the way I see it, the way I see that, and I just want to say, our brains process a lot more information than our conscious can keep up with.
Yes.
Our brains process about 4 million bits of information a second. Our conscious keeps up with about 2,000.
Yes.
So there's all this information on the periphery. We don't make it any easier on ourselves with our day-to-day lives. As we've made our lives easier through technology with our phone and our job and our computers and everything we're doing, we're keeping our conscious busier with these things. Sasquatch doesn't have this problem. What if they're able to consciously keep up with everything their brain can process? With that amount of power, intuition, you're talking about seeing the future, essentially. That which would make a lot of sense as far as this creature's concerned. Being able to accurately predict at least into the near future, what's happening, and watching us and studying our notions and tendencies, and not having all these things that bog us down daily. I think they've got it all over us in that aspect. And how primitive are they really? Is it smart for us to use industry, technology. We're destroying our planet with these things. We're not living in harmony with our with the planet with any of these things. They are.
Yeah.
So who's smarter here? Maybe we should have stayed in the jungle and
sure. But at least in harmony with the nature. Yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, we are cutting the branch that we are sitting on for a long time now. So yes, that philosophical question is, yes,
free will killed that too.
Yeah, very true.
Video killed the radio star.
Yes.
I'm making them noises. Sorry, I can't do anything on the screen at all. I don't know what's happened. I was trying to download an image to show, but I have no control of that. I can't even see the chat now, so I don't know what's happened.
Oh.
It does that every time I click.
I was wondering what that was.
Yes, I know. I'm completely frozen.
But hey, real quick before we go, there was an image that I wanted to show. Our good friend Jimmy Barr. Oh, and I've lost it. I had it and I lost it. His son Riker, elementary school. They all got awards, you know, when they go from, I guess, elementary to you get the award the most likely to. And his award was most likely to discover Sasquatch. And Jimmy sent me a picture of it, and I wanted to show it. And his son Riker, congratulations on that, by the way, Riker. I hope it is you. I hope you are the guy that discovered Sasquatch. I just thought that was cool that his teacher would put that on as his certificate, most likely to discover Sasquatch, discover Bigfoot is what it said. But hey, we've come to the end of our hour, Indy. Sure. We definitely want to get you back. There's just so many things, so many outside aspects of this subject to talk about and to get into that we definitely want to do that again for sure. Danielle, I'm going to make a few announcements and you can take your show back.
Yeah, well, you'll have to end it because I can't do anything.
Oh, okay. I guess I'll do that.
Sorry.
Next Sunday is going to be Sunday Encounters. We're going to have either one of two that I'm working on right now. I don't want to announce which one because it might be one or the other. We'll be here. Danielle, I don't know who's going to be co-hosting. It'll either be Matt Larson, Linda Arnold, or Jimmy Barr will be here co-hosting with you on that next Sunday at 7 o'clock. This Wednesday, 7 p.m., Researchers Reports, obviously. And I'm working on 168 hours still. I haven't had very much time to do anything on it. So we're a good month out. I mean, I could put it all into one video and just make one long video and get it out a lot faster, but there's too much in it to do that. So it's going to be at least 3 parts. But I am working on it. I know you guys have been asking a lot about it when I can. It's just I don't have a lot of time. I work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I'm being transitioned from days to nights. Not making excuses, just saying. It'll be out when it comes out. That's all I can tell you guys. But Indy, we appreciate you being here with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys join us here next Sunday. We're going to have an eyewitness with an encounter at 7 o'clock p.m. Central. Cool. Anything else? Did I miss anything?
No, that's it.
Oh, we're gonna have a members only show.
Oh yeah,
coming up soon. We haven't decided exactly when we're gonna do that, but it's gonna be for members only. You can become a member, join Bigfoot Odyssey. There's a link in the description, or you might see the little join icon beside where it says subscribe. You can become a member. We're gonna be giving away the t-shirts and the hats are here. But we're gonna be giving some of those things away, and all you members. I don't want to say who's coming. I'm gonna reserve that.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Because we don't know when it's gonna be yet.
Yeah.
So.
No. Soon. Hopefully.
Very soon. So members now, and those future members. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a good evening.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Thank you. Bye, guys. So